much. That's better. Okay, we'll start with Jaya Radha Madhava. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Jannava Girivaradari. Jaya Gopi Jannava Girivaradari. Yashodanandana Bhaja Janaranjana. Yashodanandana Bhaja Janaranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 38, verses 28 to 36. We'll start with 28 to 33. Dadarsha Krishna Ramam cha Raje Godohanam Gatao Pita Nilambara Daro Sarad Ambura Hekshanao Kishorao Shamala Svetao Shrine Tau Brihad Pujao Sumuko Sundaravaro Balad Virada Vikramo Vajavadran Kusham Kiniter Angribir Vajam Sobhayanto Mahatmano Sanukroshab Smitekshano Rudhadharuchira Kridhau Sragvinau Vanamalinau Punyagandanuluptangau Snatau Vida Javashashau Radhana Purashav Adyau Jagadetu Jagadpati Avitirno Jagadyarte Swamshena Balakeshavau Disoviti Mirarajan Kurvano Prabhayasvaya Yatamarakata Sailau Ropyascha Kanakachitau. Translation and no purport, just translation. Akrura then saw Krishna and Balaram in the village of Vraja going to milk the cows. Krishna wore yellow garments, Balaram blue, and their eyes resembled autumnal lotuses. One of those two mighty armed youths, the shelters of the goddess of fortune, had a dark blue complexion, and the other's was white. With their fine-featured faces, they were the most beautiful of all persons. As they walked with the gait of young elephants, glancing about with compassionate smiles, those two exalted personalities beautified the cow pasture with the impressions of their feet, which bore the marks of the flag, lightning bolt, elephant goad, and lotus. I'm going to repeat that. Their feet, which bore the marks of the flag, lightning bolt, elephant goad, and lotus.
What's the first one?
Flag.
Flask?
Flag.
Flag.
Yeah. No, not a flask. I think it is the Hanuman flag. Yeah, but let me double check this. Victory flag. Yeah. It doesn't have Hanuman on it, but just like there was a victory flag on the chariot that was used at the Battle of Kurukshetra. And the two lords whose pastimes are most magnanimous and attractive were ornamented with jeweled necklaces and flower garlands, anointed with auspicious, fragrant substances, freshly bathed, and dressed in spotless raiment. They were the primeval supreme personalities, the masters and original causes of the universes, who had, for the welfare of the earth, now descended in their distinct forms of Keshava and Balaram. O King Parikshit, they resembled two gold-bedecked mountains, one of emerald and the other of silver. As with their effulgence, they dispelled the sky's darkness in all directions. One of the most beautiful verses I've ever read. Next verse, 34. Ratat turnam avuplutya so krura sneha vivala papatta charano pante Dandhavad Ramakrishnayo. Akrura, overwhelmed with affection, quickly jumped down from his chariot and fell at the feet of Krishna and Balaram like a rod. Text 35. Bhagavad Darshanadada Vashpa Parya Kulekshana Ulaka Chitanga Outkantyat Svakyanena Shakanripa. The joy of seeing the Supreme Lord flooded Akrura's eyes with tears and decorated his limbs with eruptions of ecstasy. He felt such eagerness that he could not speak to present himself, O King. Bhagavam's tam abhipretya ratangankita panina parire bebhyupakrishya prita pranatavatsala. Recognizing Akrura, Lord Krishna drew him close with his hand, which bears the sign of the chariot wheel, and then embraced him. Krishna felt pleased, for he is always benignly disposed toward his surrendered devotees. Purport. According to the Acharyas, by extending his hand marked with the chariot wheel or chakra, Lord Krishna indicated his ability to kill Kamsa. You can join me in praying. Om Agyanitamirandasya Jananjana Chalakaya Chakshurunviditam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayamrupa Gadamayam Dadadishva Parandikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yura Parakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savrutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagapte Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Taptu Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sure Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Pancha Kapasiti Vyasta Vibha Sindhu Vyevacha Vatitanam Papanevyo Vaishnavevyo Namo Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Vishnu Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaudavani Prachadine Nirvishesha Shanivadi Vaishachada Shatadine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Sari Gaura Bhaktivinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I humbly seek the blessings of all the assembled devotees, especially online and in person, especially Adi Purush Prabhu, Akeshwara Prabhu. Please give me your blessings that Arjuna Prabhu, if he's listening, please give me your blessings that I can speak according to Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra for my own purification and as a service to everyone to increase their Krishna consciousness. This is such an absolutely beautiful section. And I was meditating actually on the previous verses that happened right before this section, and how in the previous verses, right before these verses, it's all about Akrura's deep meditation. He's having this deep meditation before he enters Vrindavan, and deep prayers. And he's deeply meditating on Krishna when he reaches Vrindavan. And the 3 verses before today's verse say that in the cowherd pasture, Akrura saw the footprints of those feet, whose pure dust the rulers of all the planets and the universe hold on their crowns. Those footprints of the Lord, distinguished by such marks as the lotus, barley corn, and elephant goad, made the ground wonderfully beautiful. Increasingly agitated by ecstasy at seeing the Lord's footprints, his bodily hair standing on end because of his pure love, and his eyes filled with tears, Akrura jumped down from his chariot and began rolling about among those footprints, exclaiming, "Ah, this is the dust from my master's feet." The very goal of life for all embodied beings is this ecstasy, which Akrura experienced when, upon receiving Kamsa's order, he put aside all pride, fear, and lamentation, and absorbed himself in singing, hearing, and describing the things that reminded him of Lord Krishna. And Manohar spoke so beautifully on that verse yesterday. And what was coming to me is that, because in today's verses, it talks about how Akrura feels so much ecstasy when he sees Krishna and Balaram. He feels so much love for Krishna and Balaram when he sees them personally as their personal darshan, and he becomes completely overwhelmed with affection and comes down from his chariot and falls at the feet of Krishna and Balaram like a rod, and he's crying in joy, and he's having eruptions of ecstasy, and he's feeling so much eagerness that he can't even speak. But he was already feeling this ecstasy even before he saw the Lord in person. He was already feeling the ecstasy just by being absorbed in praying and hearing and chanting about the Lord. He was already absorbed in ecstasy when he saw the lotus feet of the Lord. He was already absorbed in ecstasy when he was rolling in the dust of Vrindavan. So for a devotee, anything in connection with Krishna, of course, actually seeing Krishna and having Krishna's darshan will give great ecstasy, but just the process of Krishna consciousness and seeing anything in connection with Krishna, for one who has love for Krishna, will experience this ecstasy. And also the reason why he experienced so much ecstasy upon seeing the Lord is because he was already meditating on the Lord before that. Similarly, if we're meditating on, something not Krishna conscious, and then we come to take darshan, we might not experience much, because our mind is distracted. And when our mind is distracted and not absorbed in Krishna, then even if we see Krishna, we might not recognize him. And that, as you all know, happens multiple times in Krishna's pastimes, where there are people who are seeing Krishna, but they're not recognizing him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And why is that? It's because they're not in the proper mood. They're not seeking to surrender themselves and to fall down like a rod and offer obeisances and humble oneself before the Lord and serve the Lord. Akrura was in a service attitude. Although he was being sent by Kamsa for seemingly the mission to remove Krishna from Vrindavan and kill him, Akrura knew that, this was all part of Krishna's plan. And so he was actually doing this in the mood of service. And he was, as you all know, he has been, praying and crying out to Krishna that Krishna understands his true intention and that Krishna accepts his love and accepts his service. And it says in the verse, yesterday's verse, that the very goal of life for all embodied beings is this ecstasy of love of God. And that just really struck me, that this is the goal of life. And that, it's sometimes people think, oh, we hear about these ecstasies and the Srimad Bhagavatam or the Chaitanya Charitamrita, but like those ecstasies don't like happen today, or devotees don't experience these ecstasies today. And I was actually I've been listening to this lecture series by Sachinanda Swami that he did last year for Bhakti Center Online, called The 5 Facets of Truth. And he breaks, each one is a lecture on the Pancha Tattva. It's on our Bhakti Center Temple YouTube. I highly recommend listening to it if you haven't listened to it. And he actually starts the first session, which is about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, speaking about this very fact, that the goal of life for all embodied beings is to experience this love, this ecstasy, and to have an intimate, loving relationship with Radha and Krishna. And then he says, and we've all seen in our lives, like I have witnessed devotees, going into ecstasy. I have seen this, with my own eyes. And it is possible for all of us. On the highest stages of devotion, it's very intense and it increases very, very much, ever increasing, ever expanding. But even for, at least for myself, like a not advanced devotee, it's even possible for me, even though I'm not advanced. It's possible for all of us to feel this ecstasy if we're in the right mood and we take shelter in the right way and we absorb ourselves in service. And so I just want to share a few points from this lecture because I've just been meditating on it so much. And then if there's more time, we'll go back into the verses. But Sachinanda Swami, he was saying, like, so sometimes devotees wonder why they're not feeling that ecstasy. And he said that the remedy is to take shelter of Lord Chaitanya, to develop our love for Radha and Krishna. And he said that how do we meet Lord Chaitanya today? How do we develop that relationship with Lord Chaitanya today? 1, by chanting the holy names. 2, by sharing bhakti. 3, by singing bhajans that glorifying him. 4, chanting his 12 names. And 5, hearing his pastimes and meditating upon him. And he also specifically said, falling down and offering obeisances, like Akrura is doing to Krishna and Balaram when he sees them, when he arrives in Vrindavan. And he said that this chanting is best done in a mood of relationship or sambandha, when one calls out feelingly to the Lord, being mindful that he is identical with his holy name. We have to be in the mood of the Shikshastakam. O my Lord, O Krishna, O son of Maharaj Nanda, I am your eternal servant, but because of my own fruitive acts, I have fallen into this horrible ocean of nescience. Now please be causelessly merciful to me. Consider me a particle of dust at your lotus feet. And to be more mindful of Krishna when we chant, we have to learn about him. We have to hear about him, his form, his qualities, his pastimes. And then he said that bhakti manifests in the heart when we share it with others. And there's a verse from the Bhakti Ratnakar. Devotion or bhakti is the treasure of each devotee, but often it is a hidden treasure. It becomes available to the devotee only when that devotee helps another person to acquire it. So Prabhupada said that preaching is the best service to the Lord, and the Lord will be extremely satisfied when one who engages in the service of Krishna consciousness. There is no servant in this world more dear to me than he, nor will there ever be one more dear, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. So, and also we can take into consideration, we should share Krishna consciousness with everyone, and there's so many different ways of doing that, including drama and dance. But then also anything that we do in Srila Prabhupada's movement is preaching, because it's supporting a preaching movement. So being a pujari is also preaching, because you're supporting people to come take darshan and see the Lord dress nicely. Cooking is also preaching, but we should also share Krishna consciousness with others as much as possible. And then by singing the different prayers and songs of the acharyas, we develop the right mood, we enter into a prayerful state, and we can make great advancement. And then there's also 12 holy names of the Lord, of Lord Chaitanya, that we can chant. Chaitanya Krishna Chaitanya Gaurango Dvijanayaka Yatinam Tantinam Chaiva Nyasinam Chasiro Mani Raktambara Dara Shrima Navadvipa Sudakara Prema Bhakti Paras Chaiva Sri Sachinandanas Tata. And then we should also hear about Lord Chaitanya and meditate on Lord Chaitanya by reading Chaitanya Charitamrita, Chaitanya Bhagavat, etc. And then in the next, so like I've only listened to 2 of them so far. I'm so excited to listen to all of them. But in the next class, he said that, and how do we achieve the mercy of Lord Chaitanya? We achieve the mercy of Lord Chaitanya by approaching Lord Nityananda, because Lord Nityananda, he is the most merciful, and he gives this mercy freely to the most fallen. And by the way, I'm sharing all of this because, you know, we're in the 10th canto, we're reading about the highest pastimes of Radha and Krishna. And I think it's just so important to like remind ourselves of the importance of Chaitanya and Nityananda to grant us access to these pastimes. And Lord Nityananda gives 3 blessings. One is mercy. He doesn't distinguish between the good and bad. He just delivers all those who fall down before him. So again, offering obeisances like Akrura is doing to Krishna and Balaram. And, you know, the famous story is Jagai and Madai, how he delivers the most fallen. So we have to submit ourselves before Lord Nityananda. And then this was the most inspiring part of the lecture for me. Sachinanda Swami, he said that if you want spiritual strength, you must chant the 12 names of Nityananda Prabhu. And there is a special benediction for one who chants these 12 names of Nityananda Prabhu daily. And he said that if you have like an innermost desire in your heart for devotional service, then if you chant these 12 names, it will most certainly come true. Lord Nityananda will make it happen. And this thing says that most fortunate person who recites these 12 most auspicious holy names of the moon-like Lord Nityananda Chandra each and every day upon rising in the morning, such a person very quickly becomes free from all miseries, obstacles, and difficulties in life, and attains the fulfillment of all their most cherished and intimate desires in life. Very soon, such a person becomes the object and recipient of the supremely causeless mercy and compassion of the Supreme Lord Chaitanya Deva. And so we have to chant these names and then learn it by heart and meditate on the meanings of the name. And if anybody is interested in having this like handout, they can, I'll just put the link for it into the chat. Hopefully it doesn't have like restrictions on it. I don't think it does. And the names are Nityanando, Vadutendur, Vasudha Prana Vallabha, Janavi Jivata Pati, Krishna Prema Prada Prabhu, Padmavati Sutta Shriman Sachinandana Purvaja, Bhavon Mato Jagatata, Raktagora Kalevara. And then each one of the names has a specific meaning, which you can meditate on and read after chanting it. And he said that if you do this and you take shelter of Lord Nityananda, you can receive empowerment, unlimited empowerment to do service that's beyond your wildest dreams. And there's actually principles for how to achieve this empowerment. You know, if we have big goals in devotional service, I want to talk to you after class, Joseph. I'm trying to convince him to move here to Bhakti Center and start something. Anyways, you know, if we have big goals and big dreams in Krishna consciousness, then we need the empowerment of Lord Nityananda, and then we can actually be successful in our goals. So first we have to be detached from your own plan and become open to the Lord's plan, which you might be like, but for me to make my goal, that's my plan. We can definitely have our plan and our plan on how to execute the plan, but we have to be in this mood of prayer of like, okay, this is what we're wanting to do for you, my Lord, but like, you know best, and we're open to your plan, and we're open to how you want this to unfold, and we're open to how you want us to serve you, and you know, ultimately be detached from the results of our actions and only be attached to the Lord's service and be in this mood of however you want me to serve, my Lord, I want to serve you. And we have to have a strong desire to serve. We have to be burning with this desire to serve. We should literally wake up in the morning and be like, Haribol, like, you know, like ready, like ready, like we're going to serve today. You know, sometimes the alarm goes off and it's like, oh, you know, but we should really be like, wow, Haribol, like Jai, offer our obeisances, and like, what is going to happen today? So this empowerment is available when we align with the Lord's plan and when we have the strong desire to serve his plan, which this is the important point, may exceed our own qualifications. We might not have the qualification to do the service. We might be feeling like, I can't do this service. Like my body can't do this service. My intelligence can't do this service. My whatever can't do this service. Like, how am I going to do this service? I just don't know. But Bhakti Tirtha Swami says that if our desire to serve is beyond our capacity, but we still act without hesitation, trusting the Lord and wanting to serve the Lord, that is the moment empowerment happens. And then we can serve beyond our wildest dreams. We can serve beyond our capacity because we are not the doer. It's not our capacity that is serving. It is Krishna's mercy that is allowing us to serve. He is the doer, so he can empower us beyond unlimited imagination. But we have to stay humble while we do the service. We have to remember once we receive that empowerment, not become proud of that empowerment, like Prabhu, Krishna has empowered me so nicely, but like, wow, Krishna's mercy is so wonderful that he's doing all of this for my own purification, and he's allowing me to do something. And we have to ask for blessings from Krishna, from Guru and the Vaishnavas. You know, sometimes we hear, okay, like just take shelter of Lord Nityananda, and we think, I'm just going to focus on Lord Nityananda. And actually during Prabhupada's life, there was some devotees who started like a Nityananda club. And Prabhupada said, like, that's very nice, but if you're going to emphasize anybody, you should emphasize Guru, because it's through Guru that we receive Lord Nityananda's mercy. It's through Guru that we receive the mercy of anyone. So we should ultimately be every single moment, every single day, the most taking shelter of Guru. And these blessings, they actually play a greater role in our endeavors than our own talents and qualifications. We have to pray to the deities. We have to ask devotees and Guru for blessings when we take up a new service for the Lord. And we have to be prepared to face and overcome difficulties, because the Lord wants to see how serious his devotee is. We might have to convince him by being prepared to take some austerities in the course of our devotional life and service. But by the willingness to face such difficulties, we become qualified for empowerment. And Srila Prabhupada, he actually says in Srimad Bhagavatam 2:9-24, an easygoing life and attainment of perfection and transcendental realization cannot go together. Honestly, when I heard Satyanand Maharaj say that, I was like, oh, really? Like, because sometimes, you know, sometimes we can we just want to be like, I'm not saying balance isn't important. I'm telling my husband is always telling me to be balanced. And I appreciate that very much, because I need to hear that, because otherwise I'll just do service 24 hours a day. And so he's like, you need to be balanced. So we can be balanced, but like sometimes we can also go to the other extreme of like, yeah, like we're just like chill out in Krishna consciousness, and you know, just like take it easy in Krishna consciousness, easy going, nice. But like Prabhupada is saying, this is not the case. Yeah, so we can meditate on that. We have to take on some challenge for Krishna. As Shamananda Sundar Prabhu says, we have to chase the rhino. And we have to hold the empowerment by remaining dependent. So you know, we have to have the humility to keep the empowerment in our heart. And the pride of achievements and thinking ourselves the doer, just, you know, it literally says here, drills holes in the heart through which everything good leaves you. Hare Krishna. And then there's many prayers that we can chant to Lord Nityananda. So I was just thinking, you know, when I know it's time to open up for questions, but in conclusion, I was just thinking when I was reading these beautiful verses explaining, you know, the beautiful darshan of the Lord and how he's dressed and how he walks and the marks on his feet and, you know, his hand. And then ultimately how after he's pleased with Akrura, and Akrura is in this ecstasy of seeing him and offers obeisances to him, what does the Lord do? The Lord embraces him and shows him his hand with the chariot mark on his hand, saying that the chariot represents that I will kill Kamsa, because Krishna says that my devotee is always victorious, isn't it? Do not fear. So, and Krishna is always victorious, of course, he's God, duh. And but if we can please the Lord will embrace us. So I have a lot more to say, but I'm going to stop now. Questions, comments, reflections, corrections, concerns? Yes, Manohar, please come.
Thank you for giving class. It was super inspiring. There was one point you mentioned about how we may take on a service that's greater than our ability. to take on, and it reminded me of Prabhupada telling this one story where the child will try to lift something, and the child doesn't have the strength, but then the father comes up behind them and then lifts it up. And so
Yeah.
the child's like, wow, I'm lifting this up. But really, it's the empowerment that the father
Yeah.
comes behind and lifts it up. So it reminded me of that when you said that. The empowerment comes at that moment. We take on something bigger than what we can do.
Yeah. Thank you. Anybody else?
Much Bhagavatam Sakhi. As it said, so nicely mentioned about surrendering to Guru, and empowerment is in instruction in of Guru, of spiritual master, and all the power is already in his words. So that's Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explained that in the commentary to Bhagavad Gita, 2nd chapter, 41st verse. That's applicable here. There he mentions that this unflinching attention, focus on spiritual master instruction is actual perfection. Shripada, he humbly admits that said on some occasions that my only qualification is just try to follow the instruction of his Guru Maharaj. That's how I achieved the most amazing results.
The camera's on you, Adi Prabhu.
Oh, Hare Krishna. I didn't know. Well, a lot of talk about ecstasy. Certainly these extraordinary levels of experience are available. And Krishna is so wonderful that he's calling us to that. And these stories exhibit personalities who have that experience. We were thinking recently about that pastime with Shruti Kirti, was serving Srila Prabhupada.
Yeah.
And they were going from city to city, and every place they went, hundreds of devotees were there at the airport, crying, throwing themselves on the ground, and jumping. And Shruti Kirti was saying, and I'm just walking behind Prabhupada carrying a suitcase. And I'm thinking, gosh, everybody else is absorbing in bliss, and I'm just like dry. I don't feel it. Maybe I'm so fallen. I'm not ecstatic. And then when he was serving Srila Prabhupada later, he came to Prabhupada, and when he was giving him a massage, he said, Prabhupada, everybody was like, crying, weeping, and feeling tremendous excitement about your presence. And I was just there with you day after day, month after month, and I really didn't feel ecstasy. And then he said he probably didn't say anything to him. You've heard this before, right?
Yeah.
Probably didn't say anything. So he was like, oh my God, maybe I should just kill myself. I don't, everybody got it and I don't have it. And he went in, got Prabhupada's lunch and brought it in. And when he brought Prabhupada Prasadam, Prabhupada said,
He said that, do you like your service?
just do your service. I was like, oh, just do my service. Without, in one sense, bliss, ecstasy are available, and we're going there and we will get there. But if we think about that, there's the one servant that was fanning Prabhupada or Krishna, and then he felt ecstatic and said, no, let me just do my service. That we're not looking for the bliss. That's a byproduct. It may be there, it may not be there, but if we just try to please Krishna, that's perfect. Just do your service. And he found very great consolation to hear that. Prescribed duty, lotus feet of the spiritual master. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Champakalata, wonderful class. Thank you. It's darshan time. Let's turn on our cameras if we can and let the Lord see us. Hemangi, Jeffrey Eckler Prabhu, Scarlett, thank you very much. Sundaranandaji, nice. They bowed us down. There was once a devotee when Srila Prabhupada was around, a young bhakta, and he was always trying to get in Srila Prabhupada's face, always following Prabhupada everywhere. And he would do silly things. He would throw flower petals in front of Prabhupada. He would try to offend Prabhupada. And then one time Prabhupada put his can down and said, "Why don't you do something practical?" He said it like that to the devotee. So let's be practical and bliss will come. And let's also pray for Bhakta Bill Prabhu's speedy recovery so he can get out of the hospital and join us at the food distribution. This is very practical and very blissful. Okay. It was nice seeing you, dear devotees. Amrita Kishori, Didi, Suzanne, Dana, Krishna's Radharani, Bhima Prabhu and his horses, Arjuna Prabhu, Bruce Prabhu, Sundaranandaji, Hemangi and family. So nice to be in your association. It's like taking a shower. All the contamination is now gone. Now that the devotees saw my face, I shaved for you. Okay, Hare Krishna. Have a wonderful